outside of being a dad, I also run my own business. So Mindful Men is a therapy business, and it's dedicated to supporting men with their mental health and disability challenges. And yeah, I absolutely love being in this private practice space. It's not something I've been doing for a long time. I've been doing it for 2 years. Before that, I was a public servant for 15 odd years. But yeah, really love being in small business, and most particularly helping guys overcome their own personal challenges. And that comes from a lived experience of mental illness myself. So I'm someone who, I think for 35, 36 years, have lived with my own mental health challenges. And so I come at my therapy from a lived experience lens, and in addition to a social work lens as well. So yeah, something I'm really passionate about and love doing. And let's unpack that all.
That's I mean, mental health's obviously just such a massive topic at the moment, especially for men. And one of the things I did want to ask you, because give everyone a bit of background, we kind of first met when you were started going through that transition to starting your own business. And I know from kind of being on the outside looking in, how much of a tough step that was for you. And now being kind of 2 years removed from it, I just wanted to kind of open up by letting you talk about, like, what are the benefits that you've seen now kind of going through that initial stage to where you are now? Because there's a lot of people that I think are scared to take the jump to kind of do something that maybe fulfills them a little bit more. And you're somebody who's lived through that. I'm somebody who's been lucky enough to live through that and work through that as well. So tell everybody a little bit about, now 2 years into it, what's that experience been like? What are the positive benefits, and what are some of the hesitations you had initially that have subsided now that you're at the point that you are?
It's an interesting time we're having this discussion, because I think all the stuff that I went through 2 years ago has come back again. So, and what I mean by that is 2 years ago, I stepped away from this cushy job in the public service that I'd been in for a long time. So I knew my salary. I had great superannuation. I had lots of leave available to me, but I always wanted to run my own business. And same with my wife. We wanted to have a family business. And so stepping away from that old career was hugely daunting. It was scary. Like, where do I find my clients, for example? I think we were talking about that like 2 years ago. And how do I replace the income? Because that income pays the mortgage, it pays for the kids to go to school, and food and utilities and all that type of stuff. And so that was a huge thing for me. And at the time, I didn't really understand why it was such a huge thing. Things have been happening more recently where I've identified that I have financial trauma. And that comes from being a kid. So when I was a kid, probably, I don't know, 10 roughly, mum and dad had their own small business that was going pear-shaped, basically. And there was always arguments in the house about finances. And I never really connected the dots as to why I get so triggered around money and losing that old income and the insecurity that comes with small business. And ever since, starting my own business, what happens when a bill comes in and I've got to pay this bill? I get triggered, and I start getting really stressed and anxious and so forth. I'm always thinking in the future, where are we in 6 months? Where are we in 12 months? What happens if things go belly up and I've got to pay all these bills? How am I going to do that? And I say it's come up recently for me, this financial trauma, because I'm now going from sole trader and we've created a company. So I'm moving beyond that initial just me in business to actually this is actually going really well. I've replaced the income. I'm now hitting that threshold for GST, lodgements and all that type of stuff. And now I want to bring people in to help me out. So I want to bring my wife Rachel in to help me as a business manager, for example. And then I want to hire a new practitioner to help me out and take some more caseload from me. And we're going to expand into new areas. So from a business perspective, things are going really well. But at the same time, I've got this huge, oh no, the finances, what's going to happen with the finances again? It's come back in a wave, and I'm freaking out about it. So Rachel, my wife, she left her corporate job just like I did 2 years ago. She's finally done it herself, and she's come on, and I'm like, okay, I'm now the sole breadwinner. I've got to try and create enough work so that I can pay for her too, because she's not going to be income. She's not going to be income making in the business, her particular role. So then I'm okay. I've got to hire another practitioner to help carry that load as well, but I don't know how to do that. I've never done that, and so there's also a financial element to that. It's got to pay them, for their time, and then it's also the finances around setting up a company and having an accountant do that, and going to lawyers, and so all these things are happening. And recently, I've broken down. So I've had a little bit of a meltdown recently. In fact, this week it happened, and I went to my therapist and we're talking about it, and she's like, this comes to this financial trauma that I know so many people are experiencing over the last few years. Like, the cost of living's going up, money's a big issue in a lot of households, and I'm feeling that at the moment. And so it's been an interesting time 2 years in, but at the same time, like last night, I was looking at my numbers for last financial year. So we've just clicked over a financial year, and I was looking at my targets. I almost hit my target, and I've never made this much money before. And it's not about how much money I make. It's, I think, more reflecting on, I did it. I replaced the old income. I'm doing well. I've got a business that is growing and is in some elements, it's thriving. It's just that I'm fixated on the negative aspects of it. And so me as a therapist, I'm now going to put my therapist hat on. I'd often tell myself the same as I would tell my clients, is how do we flip that negative discourse internally to look at the positives? And so the positives have been that I've done it, and I know how to generate income now. I know how to go out and get client referrals. I know how to support practitioners because I've been doing it now for 2 years. I know what my business needs from a practitioner. And that's all exciting. And so I've got to start flipping that discourse internally. Go, yes, things cost money. Business costs money. But I try to have that mantra of, like, sometimes to make money, you've got to spend money as well. And so I'm trying to shift that internal discourse. And that's something that's come with just trial and error through the business of trying things, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't work, learning from that, getting different supports. Like, you supported me right in those early days, and my therapist at the moment, my supervisor, other business coaches along the way, my wife as well, but also coming back to self and going, I'm doing a good job. No matter how badly I see it as being, I'm also doing the best I can. So I hope that answered the question. It probably went on a bit of a tangent, but that's life in a mental health brain as mine.
No, but that's all really important points, especially like that financial trauma that you mentioned, right? Because I think we all experience it to some degree, right?